when you say someone can invest 134 Kenya shillings into the stock market, where are they supposed to start? Because you're here talking about US stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong in assuming, is that where they should start with the US stocks, or they should start locally in the NSE, or they should, because we said they start with education. I'm very confused what you're telling this person who only has 100 bob to invest. Or should they start by harnessing discipline in saving fast, make sure they have a security cushion? Should they just go straight in, if their 100 bob is the only thing they have, where am I starting? Practically. Can I come to HFM? Also, to that, let's talk about your revenue models. Because you're telling me I have 134 shillings to invest, but you guys are going to take 1%, 2% of that 134 shillings, or whatever it is I make.
Yeah.
And I could also lose it all. So, are you guys just selling me a shinier cage?
I'd actually want to say something.
Yeah.
You can't lose all your money. First of all, let's say that. Because in the stock market, the only way you lose your money is if this company goes. There's no way the company, there's all these regulations that are put in place to, first of all, protect your money. It can go down.
Yeah.
But you will not lose your 134 shillings altogether. Let's even say you come today, you have this 100, let's actually round it off to 150. You just do that, just for rounded off numbers purposes. So you have my 150. I've come on HISA. There's actually fractional shares in Kenya as well now, and there is fractional shares in the US. So what I always tell people is this: start with things you're interested in. So there's areas you're more interested in. Like, let's say you're interested in football. Man U is actually listed, and these things, they actually affect directly. Man U loses a game, their stock shares they're not as valuable as when they do like they win a game. So those are things that actually do move the stock market.
Yeah.
Then there's things like, okay, they've gotten a new player. I'm not very conversant with football, so but I know I hear such things like this thing. We've gotten a new player, people are happy about that, or we've gotten a new coach, people are happy about that. Those are things that actually do affect that stock. Apple has released new products. Like, let's say, okay, Apple is a big name. Let's talk about...
Yeah, forget those big names. I like where you're going.
Let's talk about these other small stocks. Like, there's actually health stocks that people don't even consider. Like the company that released Ozempic. Ozempic has become very big. It might be used for cosmetic purposes or even for the health purposes that it's supposed. But all these companies are companies that are actually going big. There's a company that has now released Ozempic as a pill, not only as a shot. These are companies that are coming up and they're coming big. Like, that's how you see, like, let's say I'm interested in the beauty side and I go and look at which companies are listed that sell makeup. So you see, if I'm interested in makeup, what I'll think is they've released a new product in their line that affects their stock value. Those are things that now affect. That's why you see, if you start to do your 150 and let's say now it goes to 180. You will be like, oh, okay, interesting. Or even now, maybe now they've released their new product, has gone to 180, then there's negative reviews. Maybe now it goes to 120. But you're able to see why. You're able to understand, okay, these are things that move the market. So even when you're going to another area and you're not thinking, okay, let me now diversify, let me move past my interest and now start seeing like, okay, energy is a sector, finance as a sector, health as a sector, commodities, all these things. When you start looking at that, you're also able to now, because you've gotten your knowledge from, okay, these are the things that affect the stock market. And this is how maybe even an announcement that Fed cuts or anything, how are they affecting these things? When you start with somewhere you're interested in, it always looks like something like, what do you mean somewhere I'm interested in? That's if you're interested in music, look for companies that are listed that actually do have like releasing music or something like that. Like just something that stems your interest because you're more inclined to listen to even have knowledge about these few companies. Because even your For You page, they are more structured to your interest. So if let's say your interest is also in cars, your For You page has a lot of cars. You'll always know when a new car is being released. You'll always know when that car has problems. You'll always know when this company is the CEO is being let go. You'll always know such things. So that's how you actually stem your interest. Slowly, you start with one stock. You get to understand this is why this stock is performing. This is how my portfolio is going. And as he said, the behavioral economics of like, there's that finance where people will be like, I have lost money, I'm done. That is not always a good strategy in the market, because when you start with I have lost money, I'm done, it means like, okay, let's say like today Apple has released their iPhones and all. Some people have good reviews about the iPhone 17. Some people have bad reviews about iPhone 17. So let's say their stock goes down by a few
Basis
shillings.
points.
Yeah. There's going to be, if you start thinking, okay, no, I'm panicking. No, I'm going to have to leave this position that I'm in. If you're going to be doing that, it means like Apple actually has a bigger picture, because this phone, this will come down. Like it's always just in any update, people are like, no, I didn't like the glass transparency. No, me, I liked it. Then things now start smoothening out, and now the stock starts growing, because you'll see, okay, now this was the value, that why they did this. There is actually value addition in what they're doing, and that's how you see like, now, okay, now it's growing. Then now you hear something like something did go wrong. They had to let go of their head of product or something like that, and now there's a product problem. Those are things that always start affecting your stock. But when you're having knowledge about it, you're not going to be acting erratically. Yeah.
There are two things just to add on what Leah has said, and I'll take it back to COVID time. During COVID time, I have a client who at this particular point was located in Dubai. And this client spoke to one of the friends who was in China. And the friend who was in China, smack in the middle, or actually smack at the start of COVID, gave him a call and said, hey, we are stuck inside the house. All I do is watch Netflix. And it was a light bulb for this friend of mine. It was a light bulb moment. And he was like, okay, COVID technically will become a global pandemic. Okay, these guys in China are stuck watching Netflix only. So what does that mean? It means that there will be more product utility for this particular company. So what does he do? He goes in, buys Netflix stocks, and sits and wait. Okay, so you need to look at product usability. That's the first thing as well. Okay, so not only are you investing in something that you understand or something that you're familiar with, look at what is the utility behind it. What is the demand versus supply? Okay.
So Bernard, don't forget your next point.
Yeah.
So that means, for example, that we've been talking about doom scrolling. We know
Yes.
right now Africa will be the youth. Kenya is full of the youth. So right now, should I be buying Meta stock? Should I be buying... Is that what you mean when you say look at usability?
Yes. Look at usability.
This is not financial advice, please. Do your due diligence. This is for educational purposes only. Proceed.
Okay. So that's key. Look at usability. Something that also Leah has mentioned. You have, let's say, 1,000 shillings. Okay. That's something around $7.
Yeah.
Okay. You can get into smaller positions of stocks.
Yeah.
Okay. And what you do is three things. Okay. The first thing that I always mention is product or portfolio selection. After you select your portfolio, you do your portfolio sizing. You size your portfolio. And number three, portfolio management. These are the three principles in finance I live with, or I talk about. What HFM particularly offers is active management. And I will mention why the three, okay? But before I get there, once you take your position, or once you get into a financial asset that you probably know, or you've considered that it has utility behind it, there's something called dollar discounting. Okay? If the price is at $1, get in. When it moves to $2, get in. When it moves to $2.5, get in. So what this means is that you have your portfolio stacked at different price points, which narrows your risk. Okay? So let's come back to the three principles. Portfolio selection. You've selected your portfolio. Okay? Portfolio sizing. So I look at how much do I have that I want to give. For example, I want access in gold. How much do I need to put in gold? How much do I need to put in the Taiwan stock, semiconductor stock, which is actually really, it's one of the strongest and biggest trading counters currently this year. So how much do I want to put in oil? All these products have usability, correct? There's gold that acts as a safe haven. There's the Taiwan Semiconductor that acts as a tech chip producing company, correct? Now that everything is moving to AI, everything is AI driven. There's oil, which has usability up to your doorstep, correct? So these are examples. So if I'm holding, give or take, $1,000, okay, I'm able to come and do my product selection. I will select A, B, and C. Why will I select these assets? Based on the research that you've done, the usability that you've noted, and two things, technical and fundamental analysis play a big role in this. I won't get into the nitty-gritties. However, I'll just quickly rush through. So let's come to product sizing. I look at gold. Gold is a safe haven. However, it's also quite volatile, similar to what we see in crypto.
What does safe haven mean?
Safe haven means when you see market volatility. For example, in the US, let's say we have geopolitical tension.
Or government shutdowns.
Okay? So we see people getting their money out of the assets that would have the highest impact and take them to a safe territory that is gold. Okay, so we've seen this time in, time out.
Yeah.
Where
so
we have
gold-
geopolitical wars, I'd rather have, instead of having my cash in my pocket, I'll take my cash, go buy physical bars of gold and sit on gold.
Shut up. Physical bars.
Yes, physical bars.
I thought you'd tell me a gold ETF or something. A physical bar.
Physical bars.
Interesting.
Currently, even people right now are looking at buying physical silver.
Okay.
Yes. So let's come back. So in reference to product selection, we've covered it all.
Yeah.
Product sizing. I have 3 products I want to get into. However, they each have different risk parameters.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I will proportionally position my size in reference to the risk allocation or the risk tolerance that I have. Okay? If I consider crypto as a highly volatile asset,
Yeah.
I'll probably position 10% of my financial investment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After that, we come to financial balancing. When we talk about people being lazy, people just want to get here. Ivy have my money, or HFM have my money, HISA have my money, and I'll come get it in 10 years' time. It doesn't work like that. You need, as a keen investor, to be able to move your positions around. So this is what I talk about, active management. So these are the 3 principles I always talk about.